Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. You know we love to break down those companies making waves, and today we're diving into Leidos Holdings. Ticker symbol LDOS for those following along. They've been making headlines in the defense and IT world, and yeah, they're catching the eye of a lot of investors. But is it all smooth sailing? Let's find out. I've got an expert with me to help us make sense of it all.
Always happy to dig into these fascinating companies, and Leidos is a particularly interesting case. Strong performance, but some signals suggest a little caution might be wise.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly does Leidos do? Why are they on our radar?
They're major players in two big arenas, defense technology and information technology. Think of things like secure communication systems, data analysis for government agencies, that sort of thing. It's a sector that's buzzing with activity right now, and Leidos is right in the thick of it.
Right, and that recent Q4 2024 report really got people talking. Revenue was up 8% year over year, landed at $3.2 billion, plus earnings per share hit $1.50. Those are some impressive numbers.
Absolutely, but gotta remember, strong financials for one quarter don't guarantee long-term success, right? The key question is, are these results sustainable or just a temporary spike?
Okay, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And that's where digging a little deeper comes in. One thing that stood out to me was their success with those government contracts, that potential $235 million deal to modernize the organ procurement and transplant network. That's huge. What's the significance of those big contracts for a company like Leidos?
For a company like Leidos, government contracts are like striking gold. They provide reliable and often long-term income streams. That particular contract you mentioned, it really highlights their expertise, applying tech to critical sectors, healthcare in this case. And of course, it boosts their reputation, potentially opens doors to even bigger opportunities down the line.
Sounds like a win-win. And speaking of wins, they're not forgetting their shareholders. Leidos increased their quarterly dividend from 38 cents to 40 cents per share. What kind of message does that send to investors?
Well, increasing dividends is often a sign of confidence. Tells investors the company believes in its future profitability, they're willing to share the rewards. Can also attract a certain type of investor, the ones looking for steady income over those rapid growth stocks. But gotta remember, there's a flip side too. Focusing too hard on dividends can limit a company's ability to reinvest. Research, development, future growth initiatives.
Right. Gotta find that balance. Speaking of future growth, Leidos is also making waves in the cybersecurity world. They snagged a contract with NHS Supply Chain for cybersecurity services. And there's buzz about them being undervalued in the market.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is booming. Leidos is smart to position themselves as a leader. But let's talk about that stock price. Leidos has been on an upward trajectory generally, but there's been some recent volatility.
Yeah, as of February 1st, 2025, the stock's trading around $141.52. That's below both its 50-day and 200-day moving averages, which might raise some eyebrows. What could that downward trend indicate?
Well, for those maybe not familiar with moving averages, it's basically a way to smooth out price fluctuations over time. Helps identify trends. The 50-day and 200-day averages are kind of the standard benchmarks. When a stock dips below those, can signal a shift in momentum, maybe from bullish to bearish. Could be investors selling off after the recent run-up. Maybe concerns about Leidos maintaining that strong growth. That is worth noting. Some short-term forecasts are predicting a potential drop, down to $121.25 by February 26th.
Wow, that's a significant drop. So how should investors interpret these short-term predictions? Are they cause for concern?
Well, short-term predictions are always a bit tricky, kind of like trying to predict the weather weeks in advance. Too many factors can influence those stock prices in the short term. But professional investors often use these predictions, to identify potential opportunities, buying or selling. Depends on their strategy and risk tolerance.
So it's like we've got this mixed bag of signals. Excellent financials, big contract wins, dividend increase, but the stock price is trending down. And some analysts are predicting further declines. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, it really highlights how complex the market can be. It's rarely black and white. But there's another piece of the puzzle we need to look at, analyst sentiment. And despite all those positive indicators, the overall technical sentiment from analysts, leaning bearish, hold recommendation with a bearish bias.
Hold on, so we've got all these positive signs, but the experts are hesitant. What's going on there?
Could be a few things. Those short-term forecasts predicting a dip can make some investors nervous. There are also concerns about overall market volatility. Interest rates are still fluctuating, and honestly, some analysts might just be taking a wait-and-see approach. Want to see if Leidos can keep up this impressive growth before they jump on board.
Makes sense. So what should investors be watching to get a clearer picture of where Leidos is headed?
Keep an eye on those upcoming earnings reports. Can they maintain that momentum with revenue and earnings growth? Also, pay attention to news about new contract wins, especially in key areas like cybersecurity. Those are good indicators of future performance. And of course, keep an eye on the overall market sentiment. How's it affecting Leidos' stock? Ticker symbol LDOS.
It sounds like Leidos is a classic investment dilemma. Strong performance on paper, but some uncertainties hanging around. What would you do if you were considering Leidos Holdings for your portfolio?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Leidos has a lot going for it. Strong presence in growing markets, solid financial track record, commitment to shareholder value. But then there's that downward stock trend and those cautious analysts. Tough call.
I'm sensing there's no easy answer here.
You got it. There rarely is in investing. It all comes down to weighing the potential risks and rewards, evaluating different perspectives, ultimately making a judgment call based on your own research and investment goals and your risk tolerance.
Right, risk tolerance is key. So let's turn it over to our listeners. If you were thinking about adding Leidos to your portfolio, what would you do? Would those strong numbers and growth potential be enough to get you on board? Or would you hold back and wait for some clearer signals? It's a decision that deserves some careful thought.
Absolutely. Investing is a personal journey. Don't ever invest in something you don't understand or aren't comfortable with. Make decisions that align with your financial goals.
Excellent advice. Well, that wraps up our look at Leidos Holdings. We hope you found this discussion insightful as always. A lot to consider with Leidos Holdings. Understanding these companies and the forces at play, it can really help you make those informed decisions about your own portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. We always encourage our listeners to go beyond just the headlines. Really delve into those financial reports. Look at different perspectives before making any investment decisions.
Exactly. Do your homework. Speaking of homework, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What were your takeaways from our Leidos analysis today? Are you bullish on LDOS? Bearish? Somewhere in between? Let us know. Head down to the comments and share your insights. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode of Investing Talk Podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future deep dives.
And don't forget to spread the knowledge. Share this episode with your friends, family, anyone who might be interested in learning more about Leidos Holdings, ticker symbol LDOS.
Until next time, happy investing, everyone.